Hello and welcome, my dear friends of Rajeshwar, class 10th ABC. Today we begin with chapter 5, The 100 Dresses, part 1, written by L. Browser Esther. From First Flight, a main course book, which is the textbook in English for class 10. And before we read, we should know how do we judge our people around us, around according to the dresses or what all. So it is a sensitive story how a poor girl is judged by her classmates. Okay, it's a Polish American community in United States of America. So I shall read out the story for you. Today, Monday, Vanda Petronsky was not in her seat. But nobody, not even Peggy and Mandeline, the girls who started all the fun, noticed her absence. Usually, Vanda sat in the seat next to the last seat in the last row in the room 13. She sat in the corner of the room with the rough boys who did not make good marks sat. The corner of the room where there were most scuffling of feet, most roars of laughter when anything funny was said, and most mud and dirt on the floor. Excuse me. Vanna did not sit there because she was rough and noisy. On the contrary, she was very quiet and rarely said anything at all. And nobody had ever heard her laugh out loud. Sometimes she twisted her mouth into a crooked sort of a smile, but that was all. Nobody knew exactly why Wanda sat in that seat, unless it was because she came all the way from Boggins Heights, and her feet were usually caked with dry mud. But no one really thought much about Wanda Petronsky once she sat in the corner of the room. The time when they thought about Wanda was outside the school hours, at noontime, when they were coming back to school on the morning early before school began, when groups of two or three or even more would be talking and laughing on their way to the schoolyard, then sometimes they waited for Wanda to have fun with her. The next day, Tuesday, Wanda was not in the school either, and nobody noticed her absence again. But on Wednesday, Peggy and Maddie, who sat down front with other children who got good marks and who didn't track in a whole lot of mud, did notice that Wanda wasn't there. Peggy was the most popular girl in the school. She was pretty. She had many pretty clothes, and her hair were curly. Maddie was her closest friend. The reason Peggy and Maddie noticed Wanda's absence was because Wanda had made them late to school. They had waited for Wanda. Okay, we come to page number 65. To have some fun with her, and she didn't have come. She hadn't come. So they often waited for Wanda Petronsky to have fun with her. Wanda Petronsky, most of the children in the room 13 didn't have names like that. They had names easy to say like Thomas, Smith, or Alan. There was one boy named Bounce, Billy Bounce. And people thought that was funny, but not funny in the same way that Petronsky was. Wanda didn't have any friends. She came to school alone and went home alone. She always wore a faded blue dress that didn't hang right. It was clean, but it looked as though it had never been ironed properly. She didn't have any friends, but a lot of girls talked to her. Sometimes they surrounded her in the schoolyard as she stood watching the little girls play hopscotch on the worn hard ground. Wanda, Peggy would say in a most courteous manner, as though she were talking to Miss Mason. Wanda, she said, giving one of her friends a nudge. Tell us, how many dresses did you say you had hanging up in your closet? Page number 66. 100. Wanda would say. 100, exclaimed all the little girls incredulously. And the little ones would stop playing hopscotch and listen. Yeah, 100 all lined up, said Wanda. Then her thin lips drew together in silence. What are they like? All silk, I bet, said Peggy. Yeah, all silk, all colors. Velvet too? Yeah, velvet too. 100 dresses, Wanda would repeat stolidly, all lined up in the closet. Then they'd let her go. And then, before she'd gone very far, they couldn't help bursting into shrieks and peals of laughter. 100 dresses! Obviously, the only dress Wanda had was a blue one which she wore every day. So why did she say she had 100? What a story! How many shoes did you say you had? 60 pairs, all lined up in my closet. Cries of exaggerated politeness. Greeted is all alike. Excuse me. Oh no, every pair is different, all colors, all lined up. Peggy, who had thought up this game, and Maddie, her inseparable friend, were always the last to leave. Finally, Wanda would move up and street, her children eyes dull and her mouth closed, hitching her left shoulder every now and then in a funny way she had, finishing the walk to school alone. Peggy was not really cruel. She protected small children from bullies, and she cried for us if she saw an animal mistreated. If anybody had said to her, "Don't you think that it is cruel way to treat Wanda?" she would have been very surprised. Cruel? Why did she say she had 100 dresses? Anybody could tell her that that was a lie. Why did she want to lie? And she wasn't just an ordinary person, else why did she have a name like that? Anyway, we never made her cry. And for Maddie, this business of asking Wanda every day, now how many dresses and how many hats and how many this and that, and that was bothering her. So, sir, my dear students, we move on to page number 67. Maddie was poor herself. She usually wore somebody else's hand-me-down clothes. Thank goodness she didn't live up in Boggins Heights or have a funny name. Sometimes when Peggy was asking Wanda those questions in that mocking, polite voice, Maddie felt embarrassed and studied the marbles in the palm of her hand, rolling them around and saying nothing herself. Not that she felt sorry for Wanda, exactly. She would never have paid any attention to Wanda if Peggy hadn't intervened. The dresses came. But suppose Peggy and all others started in on her next. She wasn't as poor as Wanda, perhaps, but she was poor. Of course, she would have more sense than to say she had 100 dresses. Still, she would not like for them to begin on her. She wished Peggy would stop teasing Wanda Petronsky. Today, even though they had been late to school, Mandy was glad that she had not to make had fun to make fun of Wanda. She worked her arithmetic problems absent-mindedly. 8 times 8, let's see, she wished she had to the nerve to write Peggy a note because she knew she never would have the courage to speak right to Peggy. To say, hey Peg, let's stop asking Wanda how many dresses she has. When she finished her arithmetic, she did start a note to Peggy. Suddenly she paused and shuddered. She pictured herself in the schoolyard, a new target for Peggy and the girls. Peggy might ask her where she got the dress she had on, and Maddie would have to say that it was one of the Peggy's old ones that Maddie's mother had tried to disguise with new trimmings, so no one in room 13 would recognize it. It's page number 68, dear boys. We are moving on to page number 68. You have to open page number 68. If only Peggy would decide of her own account to have stopped having some with Wanda. Oh well, Mary ran her hand through her short blonde hair as though to push the uncomfortable thoughts away. What difference did it make? Slowly, Mary tore into bits, and the note she had started. She was Peggy's best friend, and Peggy was the best liked girl in the whole room. Peggy could not possibly do anything that was really wrong, she thought. And for Wanda, she was just some girl who lived up in Boggins Heights and stood alone in the schoolyard. She scarcely ever said anything to anybody. The only time she talked was in the schoolyard about her underdresses. But he remembered her telling about one of her dresses, pale blue with colored trimmings. And she remembered another that was brilliant jungle green in a red sash. You'd look like a Christmas tree in that, the girls had said in the pretended admiration. Thinking about Wanda and 100 dresses were lined up in the closet, Maddie began to wonder who was going to win the drawing and the coloring contest. For girls, this contest consisted of designing dresses, and for boys, designing motorboats. Probably Peggy would win the girls' medal. The Peggy drew better than anyone else in the school, in the room. At least that's what everybody thought. She could copy a picture in a magazine or some film star's head so that you could almost tell who it was. Oh, Medea was sure Peggy would win. Well, tomorrow the teacher was going to announce the winners. Then they'd know. Next day it was drizzling. Minnie and Peggy hurried to school under Peggy's umbrella. Naturally, on a day like this, they didn't wait for Wanda Petrowski on the corner of Olive Street, the street that far, far away, under the railroad tracks, and up the hill led to Boggins Heights. Anyway, they were weren't taking chances on being late today because today was very important. So there, we move on to page number 69. Please, you also take out our page number 69 of our main course book. Do you think Miss Masson will announce the winners today? Asked Peggy. Oh, I hope so. The minute we get in, said Maddie. Of course you'll win, Peg. Hope so, said Peggy eagerly. The minute they entered the classroom, they'd stopped short and gasped. There were drawings all over the room, on every ledge and window sill, dazzling colors and brilliant, lavish designs, all drawn on great sheets of wrapping paper. There must have been 100 of them, all lined up. These must be the drawings for the contest. They were. Everybody stopped and whistled or murmured admiringly. As soon as the class has assembled, Miss Baston announced the winners. Jack Bitchels had one for the boys, she said, and his design for an outboard motor was on exhibition in room 12, along with the sketches by all other boys. As for the girls, she said, although just one or two sketches were submitted by most, one girl, and room 13 should be proud of her, that one girl actually drew 100 designs, all different and all beautiful. In the opinion of the judges, any one of the drawings is worth of winning the prize. I shall repeat, in the opinion of the judges, any one of the drawings is worth of winning the prize. I am very happy to say that Wanda Petronsky is the winner of the girls' medal. Last page, page number 20. We'll move on. Unfortunately, Wanda had been absent for school for some days and is not here to receive the applause that is due to her. Let us hope she will be back tomorrow. Now, class, you may file around the room quietly and look at her exquisite designs and the drawings. The children burst into applause, and even the boys were glad to have a chance to stamp on the floor, put their fingers in their mouths, and whistle, though they were not interested in dresses. Look, Pig, whispered Maddie. That's the blue one she told us about. Isn't that beautiful? Yes, said Peggy. And here's that green one. Boy, and I thought I could draw. So that comes with the end of the lesson. Thank you very much. Goodbye and take care of yourself.